Yeah. This is a Google Doc that I just started.
Okay.
I called it KAOS article. So you talk, I'll type, we'll make an outline, and eventually we'll have an essay.
All right.
And by the way, I have notes from a long time ago. We wrote this a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think we'll need it, but whatever. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to talk about how to talk about this. It's so in that last bit that you did you ever see the versions? When I contacted you here recently in the last, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I had written this part about where I was referring to Steve Bannon and all that.
Right at the top, yeah.
Yeah. And so did you see the version that I did of that with ChatGPT?
I'll say I didn't read it. I also didn't read the first one.
No? I know it was hard to read.
I skimmed a little bit. I'm not saying it was hard. I wasn't trying to read it. I was trying to do a meeting review. But
okay.
Yeah.
Because I talked about that last time we talked. I kind of ran over everything that I had said in there.
Okay.
And the point being that I really think I'm getting the narrative down better about how to approach this. You know, in the past, I've always gone at it trying to describe what the whole KAOS system is, right? And so anyway, now I'm kind of skipping that, and I only mention that at the end.
That makes sense. You describe the problem first and then the solution.
Yes, yeah, and I'm barely even touching on the solution. I'm mostly concentrating on the problem.
Right. Einstein said that too, by the way.
And what's different here, though, is that I'm defining the problem better. I've often tried to do this in the past, but I don't think I was able to define the problem as well. I think it worked pretty well, working off of the quote from Steve Bannon and then going from there. Anyway, this is where I kind of wanted to, what I want to talk about is how I get this narrative out there, right? I should have sent you a link to, have you ever checked out any of the Robert Wright stuff? I've talked a little bit about Robert Wright a few times.
I don't recall. If you sent me it, I did look at it, but I don't remember what you sent me.
Yeah. Well, Robert, I really like the way Robert thinks as far as foreign policy and stuff like that. And he's got this whole big Nonzero. He wrote a book called Nonzero, right? He wrote a book called Buddhism is Correct. I think that's what it's called. That was one of his books. And another one is Nonzero. And so he has an organization that he calls a Nonzero organization. And so his podcast is all centered around that. So cognitive empathy is his big deal. And so anyway, in his last podcast, I really wish you'd have a listen to it.
Okay, I will.
I could send you a link for that. Anyway, his last podcast, he talks about his latest, he does a newsletter as well. So he basically covers what's in his newsletter. And anyway, he talks about cognitive empathy, that he really thinks this is the biggest problem in the world today. And that's what he's all about fixing, right? Yeah, trying to get people to have more cognitive empathy. And so, anyway, I criticize him. He says he's got the latest version of artificial intelligence. I can't remember which one it is, what it's called. I'd have to look. I have it written down somewhere. Anyway, he went through one of the latest versions of an artificial intelligence, one that you have to pay for. And he asked it about cognitive empathy. Well, no, he asked it all about what the world needs, right, in order to solve the problems that we're having right now. And he had this whole conversation with it, and he's describing this in this podcast. And he said, it basically said, we need a higher level of cognitive empathy, right? Okay. So, and it describes how to do that in some ways that he talks about. And then he talks about how we don't do that, including himself, right? He's not following. We play the platitudes. He pretends like he says that the elites, and he includes himself in this, they talk about it as if they see that this is the answer, but yet none of us do it, is what he's saying. Right?
Okay.
And anyway, and that's my whole critique of him as well. He can see the answer is more democracy, but he won't do anything to fucking get it, right? So anyway, I made a post on his Substack. Are you familiar with Substack at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a place to chat there and whatever, and I posted a couple places there on Substack about how he admits it there, and I put the quote in there where I quoted him where he says that I am guilty of this, right? I said, well, then change your ways. Look at what I'm offering here with, a database of public opinion. I said, why won't you look at this? Why won't you consider this at all? Right? You admit that you won't consider more democracy. Well, then why not consider it? If you can admit that you're guilty of this, right? So anyway, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. So anyway, that got me this morning. I went to the version of ChatGPT that I have, which is a free version, and I asked it, and I said, how can we reduce democracy but increase cognitive empathy? And it said, yeah, you can't.
Okay.
Cognitive empathy you are reducing cognitive empathy if you're reducing democracy. And so I had a long conversation with it, and it basically is telling me that it agrees that you need a higher level of democracy. And so I don't know. Anyway, so it just seems so obvious, right? And I can't understand why I can't get anybody to talk about this. Why? Like I said, he will out and out state that he knows what he's supposed to do, and he's not doing it. And then I give him options, and he's not going there. Anyway, my frustration is just unbelievable. So
if I was to watch that podcast, would it be clear to me what his defense is or for why he's not doing your thing? So I want to see this podcast. And I want to start understanding better how Robert sees things, because I would like to understand why he's not, or I want to understand why he doesn't like your solution.
Or why he's resistant entirely. He won't even acknowledge its existence.
Yes. Will watching that podcast help me understand that?
Well, to me, it'll just add to the frustrations that I have, but you'll understand my frustrations when he almost sounds like he's aiming directly at what I'm trying to do.
It'll help me get closer to understanding his side. Yeah. So please send that to me. I'll watch it. Well, and then go ahead.
And well, there's certain people that are going to be more susceptible to understanding what I want to do here, or be willing to try to do what I want to do here, and that's why I'm picking on Robert and his group.
Are you trying to write an essay for Robert and his group?
Yes, to a degree.
Okay, so we're writing this essay.
I want to use it other places too, but I'm specifically writing it to his type of crowd.
Yeah, you're writing to the best group right now instead of to the lower common denominator.
Well, now that same group may not be part of Robert's group. But in Reddit, there are people that think similarly. They just have never been a part of Robert's group. But it's that area of society that I'm aiming for. And I think that Robert's group best defines that at this moment that I have found.
So all these people know this term cognitive empathy.
Yes. They know all about cognitive empathy. They know all about the Noosphere. They know all this stuff that I've been talking about. Yes.
So we can use all these terms, and our audience will know what we're saying.
Yes. So
when I first started reading your thing, even though you talked to me about the Noosphere, when I saw it written out, I was like, "What the hell is that word? I don't know what that word is." because it didn't connect what I heard with what I saw. So even for me who had heard it from you, I was still lost. But your audience for this essay is going to understand cognitive empathy. I guess they're going to know what non-zero means, right? Non-zero sum. They know what that is.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the name of this whole organization.
Right. So they know. I know all that too. That's very important stuff.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Non-zero sum people not wanting more democracy and wanting control.
Yeah, over to more.
That's weird to me. If you understand non-zero sum.
Yeah, I know. That's I know, but this is
because the zero sum people, the way they talk is they say, look, there's gonna be a winner and there's gonna be a loser, and I'm gonna be the winner. And they think in terms of when they think of a lifeboat scenario, they say, if you're in a lifeboat and it's, one of you has to die, you're gonna commit murder. I know you are. And I say, no, I wouldn't. I would do suicide. You're fucking insane. Those are the zero sum people. That's how they talk. They think murder is inevitable. They think it's inevitable that I'm going to force on someone or in reverse.
Yeah.
But the non-zero sum people, which is me, I thought they would understand, no, it's not inevitable that we'll use force. So I thought they would think, no, you don't need control.
Yeah.
In the
data
collection system.
I think they are at least the most open to the idea that we don't be moving away from control.
But I think they don't thoroughly understand non-zero sum. So we have to help them more thoroughly understand this. So I'm going to put in here somewhere, non-zero sum people somehow thinking control is necessary.
That's right.
Holy shit. That's big. We got to figure out how to fix that.
Well, I mean, that's exactly the same as the subreddit I was showing you for the Noosphere. They're all supposed to be on that same page. They're all thinking zero sum, right? And this type of thinking. But yet, they won't talk to me. They don't want to open up to any ideas of moving away from control.
You know what we should do? And I'm willing to do this even without you doing it, but I want to show it to you when it happens. I want to start some conversations like in Reddit with these people, and I want to propose this, or I want to show them this conflict that I see. You're a non-zero sum person, but somehow you think control is necessary. Explain that to me. I want them to explain it to me.
Yeah.
I want to say it like this. Explain it to me like I'm 6 years old because I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what their argument is.
Okay, I want to hear from them, but go on.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. You can try to hear from them. But first of all, when you start cornering them into this argument, they just ghost you. Okay? Because they know what they're next going to say does not make sense.
Okay.
All right. So you'll experience ghosting before you'll get your answer, I'm sure. But anyway, if they will engage, they're going to say, with more democracy, we get more Trump.
More Trump.
Yeah. They say that's what democracy is.
They're saying this. The future will be like the past. Am I right?
That's what they will say?
Well, then, no, that is the logic of what they're saying.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
Now, here's the problem. Let me give you an example. That's somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
So I learned a parenting philosophy that was non-zero sum, okay? But I had kids before I learned that philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so before I learned that philosophy, I was doing this thing where I controlled what they eat.
Oh, yeah.
After learning the philosophy, when I went to the grocery store with them, I said, hey, you pick whatever you want. I'm not going to, if you want something, I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
That day, they bought whatever they wanted. One of my kids was 7 or 5, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And she selected a large bag of marshmallows.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's see how this experiment goes.
Yeah.
And later that day at home, she came to me with a open bag of marshmallows. I don't know how much was gone. She handed it to me and she said, I want you to take this away.
Yeah.
She said, I threw up. I want you to take this away from me and only let me have one a day.
Yeah.
Now, the way I replied probably was bad, but I actually kind of internally got angry because first of all, I don't want this extra job. And second, you need to learn how to control yourself.
Yeah.
So I kind of said, no, you got to control yourself. Here's the bag back. She never ate marshmallows again. Okay. Her initial reaction of eating a bunch of marshmallows was Trump.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we're going to have Trump afterwards. And it doesn't mean that my daughter was going to keep eating marshmallows that way.
Yeah.
What happened was we released the control.
Yeah.
The control initially was bad. Releasing it just caused a scenario where, well, people didn't know how to act yet.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. Yeah. You're restricting your daughter from a learning experience that allowed her to grow.
And she learned quick.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're doing with the populace right now is we're restricting their ability to pick. And so they make bad choices and they don't get the proper consequences from that because of all the elite ways that we control the situation. And so they don't learn. They don't learn from this experience.
So it's like, what happens when you open the dam? There shouldn't have been a dam, and then you remove the dam.
Yes, that's right. And that's kind of what we're experiencing right now. That's what Twitter is right now. It's leakage out of the dam, and it's chaotic. It's everywhere, and it's unmeasurable, and it's you can't decipher it properly, so you can't find order out of it because it's only a part of what's in that dam. You're only getting a little bit of a glimpse of what's behind the dam, right? But it's not a good representation of what's behind that dam because it is it's everything that's behind that dam is not uniform. It's a chaotic mess behind that dam that we're holding back, and we're letting.
Want to talk about the philosophy of the logic. The future will be like the past. It has a name. Karl Popper made a name for it, coined a term, historicism. It's wrong because it ignores that ideas change.
Yes.
It's making the mistake of thinking whatever trends we see will remain the same because ideas don't change, but ideas do change. Therefore, this logic is wrong.
That's right. And on top of that, if we were to allow some of the controlling factors in place to change, we would get more a larger degree of changing factors going forward. So we don't get a Trump, right? So in other words, if we had ranked choice voting, if the way we run our democracy is a contained system. And if we expand that containment, so with like I said, a small degree, which would be ranked choice voting, then even less chance of getting a Trump-like person again.
Okay, I think all of this that we just said needs to be in this essay.
Yeah, that's a lot, though. Once again, I drown people with data. Hey,
What if I helped you make it really short? You say it's a lot. Do you mean a lot of text or a lot of ideas?
It's I don't know. It's a lot of text.
I think I can make it in very short text.
Well, you could try.
And here's the thing: if you don't like my version, that's fine. I guess you can have a version, and I'll have another version.
Well, I'd love to hear your version for sure.
Okay, well, my version would include this stuff about everything we just discussed, which I have highlighted right now on the screen.
Okay.
All of that, plus all the stuff you said, of course.
Yeah.
Your stuff first, and then this other stuff mixed in there somehow.
Yeah. Well, if you could, that's been my biggest part of the problem is trying to condense things, right?
Yeah.
And so I definitely don't feel like I'm good at it, but I do think that over time I am getting the narrative better. It's been a decade though I've been on this, So it's not. I'm not moving fast now.
Well, I can tell from my own talks with you that the last time I talked with you, your delivery was way better than the first time, and actually I can tell the difference on each iteration.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would encourage you to take a look at that argument I gave there. That one, the one that's been doctored up by ChatGPT.
All right, I'll read both documents, your original and the ChatGPT one.
I mean, I don't know. I think you get it all from the second one, but
Okay.
see, critique that. Take that argument and see if you can critique it. See if you can shorten it. See if there's any, emphasize the areas that need an emphasis or what have you. Right. Yeah.
I also might use ChatGPT to help me think through it more.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So yeah.
And send me that link to the podcast, please.
What's that?
I said, please send me the link to the podcast, Robert's podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean that particular episode you wanted me to see.
Yes. I'll do that. Specific episode. Yes. And give that a listen. I think it gives you a good idea of what his type of people are like. I think, he attracts a certain type of people. And, I'm very critical of him, but I think he's one of the best areas of foreign policy and stuff like this, one of the smarter thinkers this way. So I really want to emphasize the fact that everybody's going the wrong way. I think I'm able to make that argument very well there, that everybody seems to be going the wrong way with this less democracy. And this is some kind of knee-jerk reaction to do it for control.
Oh, I have a question. So before Trump, what was their argument about why we should have control?
Well, it was Brexit as well. You look at anybody on the intellectual side is very much against referendums.
I'm confused. How would I know what Brexit is, but I'm confused why Brexit is like the Trump thing.
Oh, because the intellectuals did not want Brexit to pass, and it was all your working class people that brought it in, and it's really been I mean, it's arguable, but most people's at least all the intellectual people all seem to think that Brexit was a huge disaster.
Oh, so I didn't know this. So Brexit, there was a big referendum.
Yes, Brexit was a referendum for England to leave, or Britain. Greater Britain to leave the European Union.
And I guess the point is, if it wasn't for that referendum, all the leaders, the politicians, were on the opposite side of that.
Yeah, well, everybody in the more elite class wanted to stay in the European Union, right? And it's the biggest argument was, I mean, it's the classic immigration, right? And so when they joined the European Union, a whole bunch of Polish people and Ukrainian and all around that area, they all moved to Britain because they could, right? And they all moved there, and I've met many of them because some of them came to Canada eventually. But anyway, some of them, there was this huge influx from Europe, and everybody, they hate immigrants, right? You're more conservative. The more conservative.
So I don't know the controversy. It's like everybody against Brexit. Like who's for Brexit?
The people that hated immigrants.
The people that hate immigrants.
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying from a philosophical stance, the idea of Brexit is bad.
Well, Brexit itself, so Brexit is basically exit from the European Union.
Yeah, right? Is that a good idea in general? Like, philosophically, is that good or bad?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, right? I think it was smart to be part of the European Union. A larger bloc nation has more power in the world. That's why they created the European Union, is to have some kind of power compared
Help me understand it like this. Okay, we have the U.S. 50 states. Let's say the California is like the biggest one that contributes, let's say, tax-wise. Financially, tax-wise, California is it. Yeah. If California said, hey, we want to get out of the U.S. because too many other too many people from other states are coming here.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that even happening? Do too many people go to California?
Oh, they had that problem for sure.
Actually, people leave California for the past 10 years.
Yeah, now they are. But up until then, everybody was moving to California. It was always
maybe the UK needed to do what California was doing to send people away. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand. Texas complains and always threatens leaving the U.S. also.
Yeah,
but I think for kind of different reasons, though.
Yeah, different reasons. Yeah,
and also California never threatens leaving, right?
Not that I've heard of. No.
I'm really confused why this one matters. Okay, other than Brexit, what other thing do they say is like the Trump scenario?
Everything they don't like.
That's it, huh? Just whatever they don't like.
Yeah, everything they don't like.
Those are the same assholes, the parents that say, I like freedom, but my kid's not going to do X because I don't like it.
Yeah, well, because there's things from freedom. Your idea of freedom is not my idea of freedom, and I want my idea of freedom, right?
Except you and me, it's the same conception of freedom.
Is it? Exactly, though? I mean,
I think so. Like, what things do you want to prevent me from doing? I'm pretty sure it's the same set.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if everybody has their own specifics about specifically what they would like to see in the world. This has really nothing to do with freedoms, or very little. It's about your own personal freedoms, right? So anyway, if you and I were to really hash out exactly what you think the world should be like, and I were to say exactly, I'm sure there'll be some differences.
No. There might be differences there, but I'm talking about a different set of things. The things that we think other people, and I guess me too, should be restricted from doing, like murder, rape. We agree on those two things. I'm pretty sure we agree on everything if we understand the same concept of freedom.
Oh, no. Well, even with murder, there's a huge discrepancy, right?
Of what things would be counted as wrong versus,
or how you deal with it. I mean, a prime example is the Luigi guy right now. Would you execute him? Would you execute him?
Oh, so just basic. Okay, so I think in general we shouldn't have executions, but mostly my argument is things like,
should he get the harshest punishment possible?
Well, I don't even agree with punishment.
Okay, so then once again, I'm showing the nuances. That's my only point. I'm showing the nuances here.
Well, do you agree with punishment? Do you think punishment is good?
I don't know. I'd be pretty tempted to let him walk myself. But
I mean, philosophically in general, like, do you punish your friends? Do you punish your wife? Do you punish your kids? Like, do you punish?
No, generally, I'm against the idea of punishment in general. But at the same time, though, I cannot deny that there is can have an effect to show that there is repercussions for your actions.
Okay, but that sounds like defense.
No, repercussion for your actions is an example for the next person. So after the fact. So somebody murders, you need to show an example so somebody else doesn't murder. But
you would have put him in jail, right?
Well, once again, though, I don't know if I do that with Luigi. Maybe I want that example. Maybe I like it when people go to kill executives. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that there's a lot of nuance.
Right. I'm. It's interesting you're using the Luigi one. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's the extreme. He's the extreme that makes me think, fuck, I don't know if I'd want to.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about a more general thing. I like Batman. Yeah. Okay? If there was a real Batman, I wouldn't want him in jail. No, I like what he's doing.
Yeah, well, that's a good example there, too. Yeah.
Are we saying Luigi is Batman?
Yeah. Okay. So that's vigilantism, though, which I tend to be more against the name. But same thing with Luigi. Yeah, Luigi is vigilantism.
Well, no, here's the basic logic. And this makes sense even for revolution, violent revolution. If there's a dictatorship country and the people are not able to, make progress with the laws, then yes, there is an option, and it has to be taken sometimes to violently revolt and get rid of that dictator. And in the case of England, in the late 1200s, they gave the king an option. We're going to revolt, or you signed this fucking contract called the Magna Carta. And he went with the Magna Carta. That, but there was threat of revolt there, threat of violence, and it has to be there.
Yeah.
In the case of, what's the thing? Okay, so in the case of, if you have police that's not doing its job, the Batman scenario, then yes, somebody else is gonna have to do it. Fuck you. You know what I mean? It's basic. If the government's not doing the job it's supposed to do, then other people have to do it. And by the way, before the government had that job, we had the job. We were the police before the police. So if the police stopped, then we're gonna go back to being the police. I don't care how old the idea is, like 500 years old or not.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But my only point about not liking the Batman scenario is that we should not get ourselves into the Batman scenario to begin with.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Yes. Similarly, we should not be in a dictatorship.
Or similarly, we should not have a situation where Luigi feels he needs to kill somebody.
Right. I agree with that. Yep.
Right? I shouldn't be put in a position that I feel like I need to justify what Luigi did.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So let's get to that. That's where we need to be.
I mean, what just popped in my head now is Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
but we were talking about freedom and whether our conceptions of freedom are the same, and whether we would think the things that should be illegal would be the same. When it comes to nuances, here's the thing. Whatever we came up with some universal rules, there would still be nuances we didn't think of that people can face in the future.
Yeah, well, that's why we can't work by rules like that. It has to be democratic. And we're constantly setting the new example of what the right way is. And it's a continuous thing that goes on all the time. And the only way to measure it is by public opinion. As far as I'm concerned, that's the only way you can measure these things. Public opinion. And as we know, that as I pointed out, like with the gay marriage and things like that, it's what has always worked. We don't get big change in this world till the populace want it. So
but one thing that I think what you're saying doesn't address is things like existing laws and how the new laws are going to mesh with the existing laws. Like, you can't just have people. Here's the way I'm seeing it. Like, okay, if we have laws that say freedom's good, and then here's the circumstances of what things are allowed or whatever, and then people vote for getting rid of some sort of freedom, but without it actually addressing any of the logic in the law, that doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not quite sure where you're coming from, but I think the answer is that it's always evolving.
Yes.
So I want to work away from laws. That's where I want to emphasize that, we need laws. I'm not saying we don't right now specifically. I'm not saying we can erase laws. I'm not, abolish the police kind of person. The police need to be far more educated and understanding about what they're doing. Cognitive empathy. Once again, police need far more cognitive empathy. And you know how we get them to have more cognitive empathy? We pay them more, and we give them more responsibilities, and we make them more responsible for what they do. But we pay them for that responsibility. We pay them well.
Well, let me give a recommendation. You're from Canada. I'm from the U.S. I heard in Canada, police have a degree in psychology. In the U.S., they don't need that.
Well, no, someplace. Now, I'm not sure about this, but probably what you're talking about is the RCMP. And the RCMP have are better educated. They are on a higher level. They do better than any of our other police forces. Like most of our cities have separate police forces. City police are always known to be worse than the RCMP.
And the RCMP, that's the federal police?
That's the federal police. And okay. I have a lot of problems with the RCMP. I'm not saying they're the greatest, but they're definitely better than all the other forms of police that we have. Every other form, like there's Toronto, the whole province of Toronto have their own police. They don't allow any RCMP in the entire province. OPP. Anyway, and they're Ontario, Ontario police, and so they are known to be worse than RCMP. I'm sure here in Edmonton, the cities here in Alberta, every city has their own police, and they're known to be worse. And right now, our Conservative government is pushing to get the RCMP right out of our province entirely, and they want to create their own police force like the OPP in Ontario. Anyway, I'm totally against that. None of these other police forces have ever been any better than RCMP. And there's lots of problems with the RCMP, but they are better. Like you said, they are generally better educated. And almost everybody that applies to be a cop, they want to be an RCMP first. And when they can't get in because they don't pass the qualifications, then they go be a police officer in the city or for the OPP or one of the others. They get taken for the other ones, right? There's a hierarchy there. And so that's part of the reason why the RCMP tend to be better.
Did I tell you about the movie K-Pax, which depicted some alien? I told you.
I looked it up.
That's pretty much what you're describing, right?
Kind of. I did see a summary of it. I didn't watch the movie, but I did see a summary of it. And it was an interesting scenario there.
No law because everyone is moral.
Yeah. So it's cognitive empathy. You can put that all down to cognitive empathy, you know. Anyway, as you were saying, but anyway, so what was the point I was making about the RCMP to begin with? We got off topic.
Well, that came up only because we were talking about police need to be more educated. You meant more cognitive empathy.
Yes.
And then you brought up police because you were like, I'm against laws, but I don't want to get rid of police right now yet.
Yeah. The point being, though, it's in the future, I see less and less need for laws. And that would be a better world that we would live in. And the reason why we wouldn't do something is simply because you don't want everybody else seeing that you did it, right? So if we live in a world where a lot of our lives are online and that, we are doing things or whatever, our lives, we don't want people to know that we stole or that because we have, a reputation online. But at the same time, at the very same time, everybody else needs to have far more cognitive empathy about the person that did steal something and be more forgiving for them. So it is a world where if you stole something and everybody knew about it, they'd be very forgiving and they would hopefully want to help you out and make your life better so you don't do that kind of thing again, right?
On the extreme end of how to deal with a thief, they used to 1,400 years ago chop off hands.
Yes.
And that goes along with what you said of like you don't like punishment, but you do think there's value in setting an example.
There have to be repercussions. I do believe in repercussions. That you don't want to do something because you're worried about how people will look at what you did. And that's the repercussions, right? So the repercussions don't have to be that you go to jail. It could be something entirely different. It could be just that you don't like how your neighbor is going to look at you now that you did something and they know you did it, right? So that to me, I mean, that's how society works. You know, when you used to live in a village, everybody in the village would find out if you did something, and you were ashamed by that, so you were careful not to do things that would shame yourself, right? But in a good village, you may feel shame because you made a mistake, and that may have happened. But if it's a good village, everybody's very forgiving, and they want to see you continue in your life in a better way, and they're going to do what they can to help you. So, although you are ashamed of what you did, and you should be, People are forgiving, and they want to allow a method for you to come out of that shape, so you can redeem yourself, right?
Yeah, rehabilitation instead of punishment is what I'm hearing.
Well, rehabilitation, it's more like there's room for that from everybody. It's one thing for you to feel like you're rehabilitated. It's another thing entirely for society to forgive you and think that you are rehabilitated, right?
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I wasn't trying to silo the concept of rehabilitation or anything.
Yeah.
But I brought it up because, in the US, and I'm sure this is in Canada and everywhere else, there's people who are trying to change the prison system so that it's about rehabilitation alone and no punishment. But there's plenty that don't think that way and they love punishment.
Well,
I mean,
I definitely want to work more towards the rehabilitation thing.
Yeah.
But society has to be up for that too. And we have to bring society along in that whole discussion. And it's not going to work until everybody else wants to do that too. Because they have to be forgiven by the people. This is my point, right? It doesn't help if you feel you are rehabilitated. Everybody else needs to come along with that. You understand what I'm saying there? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So, the prison example you were just saying, where they want to try and rehabilitate people. Well, a certain segment of our society is now taking care of that. And they're trying to rehabilitate the people, but the rest of us disagree with what they're doing, and we still think they should be harshly punished. They're not going to be successful in their efforts.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So in the case of, they call them convicts. I don't know what they call them in other places.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, convicts don't have a nice time after they get out of prison. And actually the whole society, or almost the whole society, is against them in so many ways, to the point that they can't even re-enter society in a normal way, like get a normal job or, so they almost are pushed back into crime.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the way society is treating them. And the very few people that are nice to them, maybe it's like church groups, but it's not enough employers and it's not enough everyone else around you. Yeah,
that's right. So the group of people that they're hanging around with at that point too. So it's there's a lot of factors going on there, but I'm part of that group. I used to be in a lot of trouble when I was young. I have a story where I broke out of my prison cell one time, and so I have some experience in this area.
Canadian prison cells must be easy to break out of.
Well, this one was pretty easy. I was labeled a habitual criminal early in my life, so things have come around a long ways. I've come a long way.
Was the label accurate? Was the label accurate?
Well, I don't think so, but they definitely tried.
Well, habitual doesn't mean forever. It just means it happened 3 times, I guess.
Yeah.
Or they say 21. They say it's not a habit till you do it 21 times, right?
Well, I don't know. It didn't take that long.
I think that stuff is stupid. I think I can do it in 3.
Yeah. So anyway, I have some experience in that area. But anyway, so everybody needs to be brought along in this whole thing. Everybody has to learn to have a higher level of cognitive empathy. It doesn't help if just a small group want to do it. All of society has to be brought along in this learning process. And that's my biggest argument right there, is we are retarding society's ability to become higher, have a higher level of cognitive empathy, because we do not allow them to participate in democracy. We do not allow them to feel the consequences of the decisions that they make, because we don't even let them make the decisions, right? So they don't get to feel the consequences of those decisions and learn from that whole experience. And we're holding that whole thing back on society, and that's what's holding back society's ability to have cognitive empathy. And it's a circle, and we're damming up that circle. We're holding everything back, like the dam you were saying. And so
if we use the dam analogy, what they'll probably say is, we'll open up the dam slowly.
Yeah, I think we get.
Well, let's avoid saying the dam example.
Yeah, it's kind of too late for that, though. I mean, it's leaking out all over the place, eh? And that's what Twitter is, and Facebook, and all these places that these hate groups come out and stuff. Is these are leakages in the dam that don't give us.
Let me ask you a real question. Engineers with dam projects, have they ever decided, okay, we want to get rid of this dam, and then how did they do it?
Wow, like you said, I mean, if it's leaking, well, then it's controlled flow, right? So they're going to try.
Well, you know something about this? I don't know anything about dams.
It's all about where you let the water flow. So if it's not controlled flow, it erodes everything. But if you have a track for where the water is going to flow, and you have that well reinforced, so it's not going to corrode, and then you allow the water to run at maximum you can down there.
Is there such an analogy that we can make for?
I don't think it works that well because I think that's what they say they are trying to do. They are trying to. If you look at it as Twitter as being leakages in the dam, they are trying to reinforce the dam and figure out how to get that, to let that flow go carefully, but they can't figure it out how to do it. And
is there a plan to keep increasing the flow?
Well, no, because that would be a plan to increase democracy, right? Increasing the flow.
Okay, let me say it another way.
So what my plan is kind of just releasing that dam to some degree, but it is going to be a slow release. Everybody's not going to release, right? Everybody's not going to jump on my site and start fucking putting out everything the first day.
Not only that, but everybody's not, the politicians are not looking at this shit yet. And the businessmen are not looking at this shit yet. So in a sense, it's naturally a slow release.
To me, actually, we could consider it maybe
maybe that's the argument we should be using. You motherfuckers, this is already a slow release. Stop trying to make it slower.
Yeah.
If anything, they're not even making it slower. They're just closing the holes.
Yeah, and actually, it's not a bad analogy. Yeah, they're just trying to close the holes and hold it back more and more and more. And it's going to burst. Something's going to burst, right? Something bad's going to happen by holding this back.
So do they argue it? Do they say they're making it less controlled than Twitter? Do they say they're making it less controlled than social media? Like, are they trying to argue that we want less control?
Their argument is all about more control. I don't see anybody saying less control. I don't see it in any regard whatsoever.
So they're just trying to close up the holes of the dam.
And they will tell you, we're looking for control.
Not only are they trying to close the holes, they're trying to be the one that lets out what comes out of the hole.
Yeah, that would be a method of control.
That's what they're doing, and that's horrible.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. If they're not allowing for a, what I want to do to me would be allow for a flow of opinions without any control of what kind of opinions. They would like to have a flow of control coming out of there, but control the opinions coming out.
Yeah, I think we should not use the water and dam analogy. It breaks down with this basic thing. Humans and ideas are not like water. Water just destroys shit. And that's not what we're doing. Erosion. Water does erosion, but humans don't.
You need water for life, though. Water is a life essential.
No, I know some of the analogy works, but it breaks down with this basic. It's similar to the analogy that Buddhism and Bruce Lee uses about water. He says, "Be like water." What he means is water can flow or it can crash, and he means the human should. Usually we should flow and go with the flow, go with what everyone's doing. But sometimes we have to crash and knock some heads. And then other people say, "Oh, this whole water analogy doesn't work because humans are different than water." It is confusing for people. Maybe we shouldn't use the dam.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. I really like my daughter example.
What's that?
I want my daughter and the marshmallows.
Oh. Yeah,
I want to use that in the essay.
Yeah. In a way, I mean, I kind of like that analogy in the sense that it fits in the category of society is like infants. We are in an infant style of society. And what we want to do is we want to helicopter parent them. That's what all these people are doing, is we want to helicopter parent them. We're going to take them to every fucking sporting event. We're going to take them we're going to control their lives. We're going to show them how to have a life specifically in very specific ways. And we're not allowing them to grow creatively. And that's what we are doing by retarding their ability to grow the way I was discussing.
Now let me support your argument even more and say, and actually you already said this. You said we're in a hurry. It has to be done now, not later. Let me argue that now. And I'm going to give you my daughter's example. Yeah. If that happened when she was 20 instead of 5,
yeah,
she would be way worse off.
Yeah.
If our civilization does it 1,000 years from now instead of now,
yes,
well, we're going to be way worse off because we're going to have way bigger nukes and way more destructive power.
Yeah, I think we're like 19 right now, and we're still working with the marshmallow problem.
Oh my God, we have to use this.
Yeah, I think right now we're.
I'm getting excited.
Yeah, we're at a point where it's critical, and we haven't learned the simple basics yet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is cognitive empathy, a higher level of cognitive empathy. We needed to get to that level before we're dealing with the new AI, right? Before we're dealing with these big new problems that are coming on, right?
You know, this connects to another discussion going on in the world. Recently, I don't know how recent, a few months ago, maybe a year ago, Ayan Hirsi Ali, you know who she is?
Yeah.
She converted to Christianity. And she said effectively, well, she said she had personal reasons for doing it. She was depressed. Now she's not depressed because of Christianity, blah, blah, blah. But she makes a broader argument that we need Christianity because when people left religion and they went to atheism, they became people that, I'm going to use these words now, they don't have cognitive empathy. So we have to go back to Christianity.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
So what the atheists should be doing is we got to teach some philosophy and we got to teach cognitive empathy.
I just want to straighten you out on one thing. It's not that we have to teach cognitive empathy. It's that we need to let them experience the circumstances that makes them come to the conclusion.
We have to let them learn it, give them the opportunity to learn it.
You got to give them the opportunity to learn it. Yes. The big difference there, right?
I like that. Yeah. I like your philosophy, man.
Yeah. And that's what we're
all right. I think we should stop for now. I'm going to go watch and read all that stuff you said, and then I'll get back with you.
I'll send you that.
I don't know how long it'll take.
I'll send you that link.
Okay, perfect, man.
All right. You have a good
one. All right, man. Take it easy.
Let me, how do you say your name?
Rami.
Rami.
The American way is Rami, yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I was saying it right, Rami. All right.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. Okay, man. Take it easy.
Thank you very much for the conversation, man.
You're welcome. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.